This is an interview with Michael Jones. Michael is a research associate at Cambridge Centre for Planning and Research at Cambridge University. Michael was commissioned to evaluate the Housing Employment Connections project. Michael, what was your role in the project?
We participated in two ways, I think. One was partly making an input into the design of the project at the beginning, and secondly, having a look at the statistics that came out of the project at the end to see what impact it had on people, who had done what, who had actually used the system and what for.
Okay, and what did this Housing Employment Connections project seek to do?
It was trying to provide a way in which home seekers, using the choice-based letting system, could also at the same time access job opportunities. And connected with that was an initial questionnaire that asked people whether they were in work or not in work, and whether, if they weren't in work, were they interested in pursuing opportunities in jobs and training.
And did the project work?
Yes, it did. People clearly found it relatively easy to use. A lot of people accessed the websites. There was a difference between some local authorities where it was compulsory and some where it was voluntary. And fewer people, of course, did it if it was a voluntary questionnaire. But nevertheless, a lot of people accessed the websites. A lot of people went down the job-seeking opportunities and particularly used the links to fuse jobs. So I think a lot of activity went going on, a lot of interest.
That's interesting. It's often said that this type of vulnerable client group would not use technology, web-based technologies, computer-based technologies. Did you find that to be the case here?
Well, everybody who uses the project, of course, is already using the web to look for a home.
Of course.
So in a sense, HEX, the project, is an add-on to something that people are already using. But nevertheless, and the volumes of traffic that are coming through on web-based, choice-based letting schemes are very high. And I think it shows that people aren't perhaps quite as vulnerable as we sometimes, perhaps rather patronisingly, make them out to be.
Yeah, interesting. And have you come across this type of project before in your work?
Not in this form, no.
Okay. So it's quite an innovative project.
Oh, yes.
And what were your main findings or your conclusions from your research?
The main conclusions were, first, the project was successful
Yeah.
at a number of levels. The first thing is that it was a project which involved negotiation and agreement between a number of partners in the Home Connections project.
Yeah.
And that's always difficult to achieve, that kind of agreement, so a big success there. The project was up and running, and again, it's worked. It hasn't fallen over like so many IT projects do. It's worked very successfully at that level, and it's generated a great deal of activity and interest from home seekers who, in addition to looking for a home, have also been tempted or interested in looking for a job or training opportunity at the same time.
Great. What would you say were the sort of next steps if this was to be taken further forward, or how could it be taken further forward?
Well, it's obviously something which could be rolled out to more landlords, both through HEX and through other choice-based letting schemes. The principle could be followed quite widely.
Yeah.
I think the thing that would be most useful in terms of the project would be to try and get some way of following up what happened to people. Now, whether that's best pursued through the employment providers side of it,
Yes.
or by some more regular survey of users. It's difficult to say, but I think that's probably the area to explore next.
Yeah.
It's given people the opportunity to look for a job.
Mhm.
We don't really know what happened to them at the end of the day.
Sure. And finally, this type of project in the current economic environment with recession developing, is it still relevant, given the fact that the number of jobs available are declining quite rapidly?
Yes, but the number of people looking for them is likely to be expanding equally rapidly, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So yes, I think the other thing which offers people, it's not just jobs,
Yeah.
it's also offering training and skills which are relevant to seeking a job and to getting a job and to holding a job. And I think that's an important, and probably that's the growing area we'll be looking at over the next, hopefully, year, 18 months, 2 years, who knows.
Okay. Michael Jones, thank you very much.
Thank you.